What's up? This is my best shots of 2023 video. The first shot I wanted to share is from the very beginning of the year. It was super snowy winter, and we pulled off to the side of the road near Pineview Reservoir, which is a little lake, and flew up the drone, and I flew it in the snow. There was actually snow falling and flying all around, but it was blanketing all the trees. It just was super pretty. And so this first one is just a shot of kind of some pine trees on the ridge, the snow blowing, and it's a backing out shot, just kind of revealing that scene. So here's that first shot. Okay, this second shot is from the same place. It was a top-down drone shot, kind of flying over the trees, just hovering, but it's super cool because you can see the snow literally blow through and around the trees. So you'll see the little kind of snowflakes, little white specks going all through the trees, and it just looks so cool. When I made my winter video, I added a little bit of a wind sound to this, and it just made it so awesome. So here's the second shot. Okay, this third one is the same location as the first shot, with those pine trees covered in snow on that ridge, but instead of backing out on the scene, I flew kind of right through and over them into the canyon just behind them, and you can see kind of how much snow is falling, a lot of the scenery, and as you kind of edge over these trees and see the canyon, it's a really cool reveal. So here's shot number 3. Alright, later in the year I went on some hikes in Cottonwood Canyon, and I believe this was Big Cottonwood Canyon. So I hiked up and we were at this lookout where you could look all across the canyon, kind of over to the other side. You could see the road down in the valley, and I flew my drone over and across and found this rocky portion of the mountainside where it was just really kind of smooth rock, like no plants or anything. So I flew my drone up and over it, and then behind it, it was really cool because there was this canyon, there's all this snow on the peak of the mountain still, and then the runoff and the river coming down from it. And so in this shot, you'll see, as I fly over that smooth rock into the canyon, you'll see this snowy, peaks with that river, and it's just super pretty. So here's that one from Big Cottonwood Canyon. next is a shot that is also from Big Cottonwood Canyon, and this is at Lake Blanche. And I later have learned you can't fly drones at Lake Blanche. It's in part of a wilderness area. I didn't know at the time, but I did get a cool shot, so I figured I'd include it here. And the shot is of Sundial Peak, which is at the top just above Lake Blanche, and the drone just kind of pivots around that peak, but you can see the peak, Lake Blanche below it, and just some of the surrounding scenery, and it's super pretty. Alright, the next two are from that same hike, and on the way down from Lake Blanche you could see the runoff from the lake going into a stream and kind of running down the mountainside, but it was super pretty. So this first one, I flew my drone kind of from the top of the river runoff down following it, and the beginning of the shot in particular is really cool because you can see the clouds kind of move and cover the sun, so everything will kind of get shady for a second, but it follows the stream just going down the hill. So here's that shot. This next one is of that same stream. The only difference is it's going uphill. So I flew the drone from the bottom and kind of followed it up, and it's really pretty to just see all the water running down and off. Alright, these next couple of shots are all from a trip we did to Idaho. We went to Twin Falls and checked out a lot of things there. There's a lot of hidden gems, but this first one is one of the more well-known things there. That's Shoshone Falls. It's kind of like a mini Niagara Falls. We went during the middle of the day and there were people everywhere, and I got a few pictures, that kind of thing, but I wanted to go back, so we went back later near sunset and nobody was there. It was just perfect conditions. We kind of had the whole place to ourselves, so I just went and sat at a table in the park and flew the drone up and over the waterfall. But this first shot, the sun comes through and kind of hits the mist coming off the waterfall, illuminates that, and it flies kind of over the water, and it just is super pretty. So here's that first shot of Shoshone Falls. Next are two more shots of Shoshone Falls. This first one is more of just a kind of still shot, just looking at all the water in the waterfall, and it's just super pretty to see. There's all the kind of mini waterfall streams as well as the big kind of gushing ones, but here's that one. Alright, this next one of Shoshone Falls, again, is showing the waterfall, but it's backing out, kind of showing it. The mist you can see coming off, and it's really pretty. So here's that one. Okay, next is another waterfall from our trip, and this is Perrine Cooley Falls, I believe is how you say it. It's a super tall waterfall, but it's just incredible. It comes off of this cliff ledge, falls down, and just pounds the rocks below it. So I had the drone right at the top where it comes off the ridge and just followed the waterfall down to where it's crashing into the rocks. So here's what that looks like. Okay, these next ones are from Box Springs Canyon, which is also in Idaho, and it's in the most unassuming place. It looks like just flat, kind of farmland, not much, kind of just, you know, dull colors. It looks just kind of like nothing. But then there's this canyon, and you peek inside, and it's just this green, lush oasis with super blue water, and it's really pretty. So this one is kind of flying over, showing some of that land as well as the canyon, and you can kind of see into it as I flew my drone over it. So here's what that looks like. Okay, this next one is of the canyon as well, but it's more flying from down above actually into the canyon, down closer towards the water, and you can see kind of that stark contrast of the land surrounding it to what's in the canyon, and it's super pretty. This last one just follows the river through Box Spring Canyon, and so you can see how pretty that water is, how green all of the vegetation around it is, and it just, you know, follows going upstream. So here's that one. Alright, this next one was a bit of a riskier one, and we took it in Idaho on that trip as well, at a place called Devil's Cauldron. And there's this bridge that kind of goes over this stream, and then there's a waterfall. But the stream runs through this super narrow canyon. It's really steep on both sides, and it's probably only a couple of feet between the two sides. But I was feeling brave, and so I took the risk and flew the drone through it, and it's super cool. I had to go slow. There's a bit of jitteriness as I was correcting to make sure I wouldn't hit anything. But you can see the water running all through that canyon. There's some birds that fly off in the beginning of this that I think make it look super cool as well. So here's that shot. This next one is the last one I have from that Idaho trip, and it's just of the bridge, and it's a pretty cool shot. I mean, it's sunny, it's not the best conditions, but the timing just worked out where there was this boat coming down and under the bridge right as I was kind of flying over and rotating the camera, and so it makes for this really cool kind of almost transition where the road comes over and the boat comes out, and it kind of reveals it that way. So here's that shot. Alright, this next one is from a hike I did in Brighton at the top of Big Cottonwood Canyon, and this was Lake Mary, and the scenery, there was still a lot of snow and pine trees, but the water was just super blue and pretty, and then there were these rocks under the water that were kind of, you could see just the tips, that it was super cool. So I'm flying over Lake Mary and then kind of up over the hill behind it, but just super pretty scenery, cool to see those rocks showing through the water. So here's that shot. These next couple are just pretty shots of the fall colors. I tried to get a lot. So this first one is from Sundance. It's just kind of going up, revealing the mountainside. You can see lots of pretty colors, the yellows, the reds, the oranges. So here's that one. Alright, this next one is from the same outing, and this is in the Alpine Loop. You can't see as many fall colors in this shot. You can see a lot of the yellows and some of the more like brighter greens. But I just felt like with the pine trees, those colors I just mentioned, and the snow-capped mountain, as I kind of rotated around here, it just made for a super pretty shot. So here's that one from Alpine Loop. Alright, this next one is from Ogden Canyon, and again I was going to get fall colors, There were tons of like reds and oranges and yellows, and it was a super cloudy kind of stormy day, and so the conditions were really cool. Here I was flying in on an area with a lot of the colors. You kind of have the clouds in the sky, and so it was super moody and looked awesome. I wish I could have got a closer shot, but I kept losing signal, and so this is the best I got, but I still wanted to include it, so here's that shot. Alright, and the last shots from the year that I wanted to include are from a trip to Nashville. I was able to fly my drone up right near downtown, and it was perfect conditions. It was sunset, it was slightly stormy, so there were clouds, it was moody, it was just super, super awesome. I got a lot of great pictures and some good video as well. So this one is flying just around where the pedestrian bridge is, looking at kind of the cityscape, and you can see too just kind of that weather, the sunset, and how those things all made this look really awesome. Alright, this next one is also was taken at that same time, and I flew pretty much right over Broadway, which is where all the bars and the honky tonks are, and there's tons of neon signs on all the buildings. So it's a kind of really cool, iconic street, and you can see a lot of that as I fly over that road. So here's that one. This next one was taken that same night. Like I said, the conditions were really great, but I had the drone up a lot higher near the AT&T building that they have there, and just kind of rotated around. You can see a lot of those tall buildings, you can see the pretty sky and the sunset, and I really like this one a lot. So here's that one. Alright, down to the last two shots of the year that I wanted to include, and these are from Rutledge Falls, which is in Tennessee, about an hour or so from downtown Nashville. Super hidden, super pretty waterfalls. This first one I flew up kind of above the trees, found an opening right above that waterfall, and just kind of lowered while rotating onto that, rotating onto right where the waterfall is. And it is this super cool kind of reveal as you get closer and closer. You see more detail, and it's kind of rotating, adding this motion into it. I really like this shot a lot, so here's that one. Okay, and the last shot I wanted to include from this year is of that same waterfall. I had my drone right in front of it and just kind of flew up because there were different kind of steps in the river, and it created more waterfalls, which I really liked. So it flies up over the huge first step, which is, the big waterfall. There's kind of another with more, and then even like a third, and it's super pretty. And then I just flew up and out, but I really like this shot a lot too. I did get close to some trees, so that was a little scary, but anyway, that's the last shot I wanted to include, so here's that one. Alright, those are my best shots of 2023. Thanks for watching.